the shadow of the Three Sisters in the Cascade Mountains, the sport of climbing returns home. The state of Oregon and the Deschutes County Fair and Expo Center, where the top climbers in the United States are set for the qualifying round of the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Champions. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland alongside former United States national team member Megan Martin. And in 2020, the sport of climbing will be featured at the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. And today's event is just the second step on what is a long road for these athletes to the Summer Games.
Exactly, it's a very important step because these athletes are trying to earn a spot on the U.S. national overall team, which will allow them to compete internationally and have a shot at qualifying for the 2020 Olympics.
And all three climbing disciplines will be featured in Tokyo. You have speed, you have sport, and then you have the discipline that we will be watching today, and that's bouldering.
Exactly. So for bouldering, these climbers haven't seen any of the problems. They have 5 boulder problems that they have to climb and only 4 minutes on each one. They haven't got to share any information. They can't watch anybody, and the goal is to get as high as they can on each boulder, on as many as they can.
The higher you go, the more points you get. 53 women are in the field right now. We will narrow that down to 20. The qualifying round coming up next. The 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championships, brought to you by The North Face, inspiring and enabling exploration since 1966. Redmond, Oregon, for the next 2 days will be the home of the best climbers in the United States. The qualifying round up first in the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championships, and it's going to be Sierra Blair Coyle who will be first to take on problem number 1, the first of 5 problems that these women will be facing. And Megan, you got some time to spend on the wall yesterday before this competition started. What'd you think of the 5 problems and the challenges that face these athletes?
I think the route setters did a really good job on the women's problems, as they did on the men's, and really challenging a lot of different skill sets. None of the problems are the same. They're very different. So you're going to have people do one problem and maybe not do as well on another one. As you can see on this first problem, you can see the 5, 10, 15 zones that are very important. You need one hand control in order to get the zone. And then the top hold, which is 25, you need 2 hands on in order to get the top. And obviously these women are going to be trying to get as many tops as possible. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really exciting show. And we're going to see some big jumps, some difficult technical movement, a lot of variety, which is exactly what the route setters want so they can challenge these athletes.
This will be a complete test for the 53 women who will take to the floor here in this opening qualifying round. At least 20 will move on to the semifinal round. That will be contested tomorrow. Then the top 6 from the semifinal round will move on to the finals. And Sierra Blair Coyle getting her very first look at problem number 1.
Sierra is definitely a very good slab climber, a very technical climber. Some people call her the slab queen sometimes. Nice little nickname. What's interesting about this specific problem is it's kind of not very obvious how to get to the 5. So we might see people try a few different ways. And then what I thought was very interesting about the whole problem in general was after you get to the 15, you think it's over by looking at it, but it's actually really difficult to stand on that large volume foot.
Claire will make her way towards the first zone. That's the 5-point zone, and then she'll try to advance beyond that. But as you said, Megan, getting to 5 is going to be trickier than maybe these athletes think.
It's just not very obvious. So it might take a couple tries, but luckily, if you have to have a few falls at the beginning, it's not the worst thing. And that was a dynamic approach, which is definitely possible, but she might also have to try and do it more static. We'll just have to see what she ends up doing, but definitely not obvious. And it's always a little difficult when the first climb isn't so obvious because you want to start off the round in a nice spot. Static beta was the way. She has the 5 now.
Claire will get to 5.
Sierra.
This is her, I'm sorry, Sierra Claire Boyle will get Blair Coyle. I'll get that right.
Tongue-tied.
We'll have all day to work on that one. We'll get to the number 5 zone, the 5-point zone, and now make her way to number 10. And athletes will get docked a 1/10 of a point for every attempt it takes to get them to their highest point. A perfect score of 25 means that you got to the top on your very first attempt.
Looking really smooth here, as I would predict. She has plenty of time. This is where it gets a little uncomfortable. She got the 15, she just switched her hand, so she's just trying to figure out the best place in order to do this really weird, slow move. Very nicely done. Oh, foot slip.
Slip for Sierra Blair Coyle, but she has plenty of time left and looks like she's starting to figure this thing out.
Exactly, now she at least knows that it's not over after the 15. That last move is definitely something she can't take lightly.
One more look at the slip from Blair Coyle.
She had a good foot position, and then when she went to try to move it, she just kind of lost her balance because that foothold is extremely slippery. You'd never feel comfortable on it.
This is her third attempt.
Just trying to make sure she can do it the same way she did it the first time. That's another thing. Sometimes you kind of forget what you did to get to a specific spot on the boulder, so you just hope you can remember exactly what you did and get back to where you were. Nicely done.
She'll get to 5. Now looking at the 10-point zone and on to 15, which is where she tripped up 2 attempts ago. Less than a minute to go, 39 seconds.
Just needs to find a good foot placement there. There's a tiny screw hole in that hold that can be helpful to stand in. You see she's trying to kind of get her foot in there, hoping her foot will stay this time. Now she really just has to pop, and that's a top for Sierra Blair Coyle. Very nicely
Blair
done.
Coyle opening up with a top on problem number 1, and she gets a little extra rest. She'll have 4 minutes before she has to take on problem number 2, and that will bring out Kyra Condi, who will be the second woman to face problem number 1. Kyra won the combined invitational that was held 2 weeks ago in Salt Lake City. You were there for that. What impressed you the most about her performance there?
I was mostly impressed by just how well she handled the pressure. She's been training really hard in all 3 disciplines recently, so I was just really glad that all her training clearly paid off. Now, slab is not exactly her favorite. She definitely is good at it, but it's not her favorite. Nicely getting to the 5 though on her first attempt right now, so she's already off to a good start.
Now she'll make her way towards the 10-point zone. Graduated from the University of Minnesota. Started climbing when she was 11 years old at her original home gym, Vertical Endeavors in St. Paul, and she gets to 15.
Just this slippery foot.
Same problem that we saw with Sierra Blair Coyle there.
Yeah, it's interesting because oftentimes you kind of look at something and you think, oh, that's not going to be that big of a deal, but that foot is just so slippery and you just never feel comfortable on it. So you almost, even when you get the next hold, you kind of feel like you're falling the whole time. So she just needs to figure out a way to trust the foot and move quick enough to get back to the 25, but she has plenty of time.
Very good progress on her first attempt. This is attempt number 2 for Kyra Condi. Her style has been described as reckless abandon. What exactly does that mean when you watch her climb?
She just has a tendency to move very quickly on the wall. I mean, she's already on her second attempt and she still has over 2 minutes. I think that's a good gauge of how quickly she moves. But I feel like she does move with purpose, and she is extremely strong, extremely talented, and it just works for her. It's her style. She's got to place that foot. Ugh. If she can find the little screw hole in the volume, I think if she can get herself to, if she can see it and place her foot in it, I think it gives you a little more support than just pasting the foot on the volume, because it is so slippery. The screw hole right there, we zoomed in. Because if you can get your toe, you can kind of pull yourself over a little and then just kind of hop to the finish.
A lot of precision involved here in this first problem. And Kyra Condi,
tiny screw hole. It's so small.
There's a look at what she's trying to hit.
But it really helps.
This is her third attempt.
If she doesn't top this boulder, I don't think it will hurt her that much. There's a lot of other boulders that will suit her well. Now she doesn't know that yet. And obviously she's trying to top as many as she can. Foot looks a little better this time and she's gonna get it. Nice job for Kyra Condi.
25 for Condi, although she will get docked for her additional attempts, but a solid opening effort. So 2 for 2 so far on problem number 1. The qualifying round continues when we return. Back inside the Deschutes County Fair and Expo Center, the qualifying round for the women underway in the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship. We have Margot Hayes on the left in the all black and Sierra Blair Coyle on the wall. Margot Hayes with her opening run at problem number 1.
Both women actually took about a minute before they even got on the wall. Margot with some really interesting beta. See if she can make it work on number 1. Oh, almost. Sierra setting up for this very delicate foot step in that you have to do. Looks like she's gonna try to bypass. She really needs to press against that hold and bring her foot in, and then you're kind of in a weird position, and this is a coordination move.
So Blair Coyle off the wall. You saw her score 24.7 on problem number 1. She got to the top there, and Margot Hayes is trying to match that on problem number 1, having trouble getting through the opening part of this boulder.
Like I was saying before about number 1, it's not really obvious if you're supposed to go static or dynamic. Margot just took a dynamic approach. We'll see if she changes her mind and goes static. Static seems to be the easier way to do that for opening move, but she just did it dynamic anyway. Really cool climbing there from Margot Hayes.
She is at the 5-point zone and now looking upward at the 10 and 15-point zones. Sierra Blair Coyle on the right, getting to the 5-point zone on problem number 2, and now working her way to the 10-point zone.
Able to get that coordination move in there. This move is one of the more powerful moves. There's a pretty powerful release here.
Margot Hayes will top problem number 1, gets herself a minute plus of additional rest time. Sierra Blair Coyle trying to figure things out here as she tries to get to the top of problem 2.
Just has to put 2 hands on there.
And she will do it. So 2 for 2 for Sierra Blair Coyle, with 3 problems remaining for her in the qualifying round. Margot Hayes, with once she got past that opening part, seemed to make very quick work of problem number 1. Claire Burfind is in the green, stretching out and getting ready. She has to sit with her back to the problem. When the athletes come out here, they don't get to look at the problems until it is their turn to climb. She has 15 seconds before she will get to take a look and start to read problem number 1.
Generally, everyone waits there for the countdown to then like grab a brush and turn around and look at the boulder and start brushing.
Time. Climbers, you may begin climbing now.
Burfind on problem 1. Kyra Condi in the black is on problem number 2.
Claire getting ready to step up onto number 1. Though she hasn't seen anybody, she can hear the crowd, so I'm sure she already knows that this boulder problem is doable. So it's one that she should do.
Burfind, one of those athletes whose wingspan is longer than her height.
She's actually one of the taller competitors in the competition, so we'll sometimes see her do things a little differently than some of the other climbers who are a bit shorter. Just trying to figure out how to get to this 5 zone. Definitely in the right position to get to the 5.
Kyra Condi, meanwhile, in the center of your screen in the black, looking to get to the 5-point zone on problem number 2, 24.8 points in problem 1, and she is off the wall.
went with a very dynamic approach there. I'm not sure she realized that she needed to kind of press against the other hold to bring her foot in first.
Burfine is to the 10-point zone, and this is where we have seen the athletes have problems putting their left feet on that precarious hold.
She moves quickly. Oh, nice top for Claire Burfine.
And she will flash problem 1. Gets through it on her very first attempt, so a perfect score of 25 for Claire Burfine, as every athlete who has taken the floor has gotten to the top of problem number 1.
Really nice foot placement there. Was able to reach over to this left-hand crimp and really pull her body weight to the right in order to be able to walk across the volume easily and get to the top.
Solid start for Claire Burfine. Kyra Condi still on problem number 2.
Just trying to figure out how she can get to the 5 in control. Oh, good effort. Just needs to figure out that she needs to press against that hold and bring her foot in before she starts moving. It's another one of those situations where it's not exactly so obvious, so you just really need to find yourself in the right position in order to make it work.
Condi quickly back on the wall. 1 minute 30 seconds remaining for her. We saw Sierra Blair Coyle reach the top of this boulder. Condi just hung up on that transition there as she tries to work her way towards the 10-point zone.
She's definitely progressing into the almost position. She knows she needs to get her foot over there, but she can't quite find the right position to do so. Hopefully she's able to figure it out before her time. Oh, interesting.
That's 1 minute remaining.
Different approach here seems to be paying off for Kyra Condi.
It could work. I did think about this, but oh, wow. Come.
Now she's trying to work her way out of a jam.
She just has to get, she's doing different beta, so different information for the climb. Didn't seem to work, so maybe she'll go back to her original way. She really needs to get some points on this boulder.
Time of the essence now for Kyra Condi, 30 seconds remaining.
See if she can figure out a way.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen for Kyra Condi. Maybe a few seconds to make one last attempt. Quickly back up on the wall and slipping again.
At this point, really, she just needs to get the 5 because I'm
10 seconds.
pretty sure they haven't given her control of that yet. So any point would help right here. Actually, that should be control because she moved off of it.
So points for Kyra Condi, although she cannot get to the top. We'll have more action from the qualifying round from Redmond, Oregon, next. Day 1 of the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship continues here in Redmond, Oregon. 3 women on the wall, as Brooke Rabatou on the far left of your screen. Her brother also competing here today is working her way towards the top of problem number 1. And then closest to the camera is Sierra Blair Coyle. She is on problem 3. She has gotten to the top of the first 2 of 5 problems here in this qualifying round.
Margot trying to figure out, oh, unfortunately coming out off on the top hold of problem number 2. Brooke Rabatou right here trying to figure out how to stand on this delicate volume. I think she just put her toe in the T-nut hole, or the screw hole. Gonna easily make it to 25. Top for Brooke Rabatou.
4th straight athlete we have seen get to the top of problem number 1. Brooke Rabatou now with plenty of rest before she takes on problem 2. One more look at Margot Hayes and the problem she had getting to that 25 zone.
She was able to get one hand on, but she couldn't quite find the body position in order to match. It is kind of a precarious match. The hold that you're finishing on isn't amazing, so you need to make sure your body's in the right position in order to get 2 hands on there.
Unlike the other zones where you just need to show one hand control, 25 the top, you need to have both hands on in order to get credit for it. She has 24.8 points after her effort on problem number 1.
Figuring out that, oh wow, skipping the 5 that time.
Hayes is back off the wall. Meanwhile, Sierra Blair Coyle continuing to work on problem number 3.
Trying to use her knee, getting the 10. Has to figure out how she can get over here, holding that body tension. trying to make her way to the 15. Unfortunately, she won't get control of the 15, but able to get to the 10.
Final seconds, so for the first time in her qualifying round, Sierra Blair Coyle will not make it to the top of a problem.
Really seeing good diversity here from the boulders in terms of technical and versus powerful.
Alex Puccio, number 6, taking the floor for the first time. Known for being one of the strongest climbers of all time. She was 3rd overall in the World Cup bouldering competition back in 2011, but this woman has quite a few accomplishments on her resume that are extremely impressive.
I mean, she is our 11-time U.S. bouldering national champion, so definitely some serious credentials from her.
She is quickly on problem number 1. We have seen every athlete who has taken to the floor so far get to the top of this problem.
Alex just trying to figure out exactly how she can get to the number 5. We've seen a bunch of the women try a more dynamic approach to start off with because, you know, in recent years there's been a lot more running and jumping in the boulder problem, so it's always a good approach to take to start off.
Claire Burfind off the wall on problem number 2. She flashed problem number 1 for a perfect score of 25. Now Puccio still having some problems getting to the 5-point zone.
Claire's about to give another attempt on number 2. Trying to figure out a way to make her way to the 5.
Kyra Condi in the black tights and black top on the right of your screen. She's on problem number 3, and Puccio struggling a little bit here on problem number 1, and Burfind off the wall on problem number 2, and that leaves Kyra Condi as the only woman climbing right now.
One thing that is noticeable about this round of boulder problems is there's a lot of places where you can just accidentally slip, so efficiency is going to be super key for success on these boulder problems.
Condi to 15, now looking at 25. Right hand is there, left hand is there, so Kyra Condi getting to the top of problem number 3, and she needed that after scoring just 5 points on problem 2. Back to Puccio on problem 1, and she has found a hold on the 5-point zone.
Definitely has enough time to finish this boulder problem. Just really gonna have to trust her feet up there.
And now to the 10-point zone. Let's see if she can figure out the foothold.
Oh, very nice from Alex Puccio.
No problem for Alex Puccio as she makes it to the top. Struggled at the bottom of this problem, but once she got past that 5-point zone, making quick work of everything else.
You have 1 minute remaining.
And she will get 5 minutes of rest before she will take on problem number 2. Solid opening for Alex Puccio. Claire Burfind is now on problem number 2, looking to get to the top after a perfect run on problem number 1. And running out of time to get there.
Setting up nicely for this cross move. Definitely has enough time to finish this boulder. She just needs to stay calm. Oh, I don't even know if she saw the foot outright. Sometimes you end up getting a little frazzled and you don't see everything.
Claire Burfind will not make it to the top of problem 2, but still a good effort for her. She has 3 problems remaining here in the qualifying round for the women. 53 women starting in the field. At least 20 will move on to the semifinals. Those will be contested tomorrow, and then the top 6 from the semifinals move on to the final round. That is Natalia Grossman is on the floor right now. That is Brooke Rabatou. Natalia Grossman in the background in the gray top, just stepping on the floor and getting set for problem number 1, as there are 4 climbers on the wall now. Natalia Grossman out of Boulder, Colorado, another woman who has been part of that ABC team.
Team ABC Dynasty. She's another athlete who really enjoys the technical slab climbing, so I'm sure when she turned around and saw this climb, she was very excited to see it. So we'll see how she does it. Already looking like she's smoothly walking through this beginning section.
Brooke Rabatou on problem number 2, 24.9 on problem 1, and the slip brings her off on that attempt.
She almost was able to save it. Looks like she kind of has the right idea.
Natalia Grossman is to the 5-point zone on problem 1, and now easily to the 10 and 15.
Just has to make sure she places her feet nicely. And then we should see another top from her. Really nice and smooth. Easy top.
Natalia Grossman gets to the top of problem 1. Sierra Blair Coyle falling off there on problem number 3 for her to make that problem 4.
And a top for Margot Hayes on problem number 3.
Margot Hayes looking solid so far. She topped problem number 1, had 15 on problem 2, and now a top for her on problem 3. Brooke Rabatou on problem number 2.
Plenty of time for Brooke to figure out this section. It's just not very obvious, but once you kind of figure it out, I think it's possible to make it through. Very nicely done by Brooke. She just needs to do this coordination move. Definitely a type of move that she's good at, as she did it with ease.
Rabatou getting to the 10-point zone and now staring at 15, and she will make that. 1 left for Rabatou.
Just saw the foot out right, which is going to be very helpful. As you can kind of see, that last hold is kind of sloping, so unfortunately it's just one hand on it. She does have enough time, so she'll probably try it again. Setting up for that double clutch. Sierra sticks it that time.
Sierra Blair Coyle to the 10-point zone on problem 4. Now to 15.
This last move's just a little scary, but nicely done
She
by
will make
Sierra.
it. Another top for Sierra Blair Coyle. Three of the 4 obstacles she has gotten to the top, and she has just one problem remaining. Rabatou is off on problem number 2. More to come from the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship from Redmond, Oregon. Qualifying round continues as Kyra Condi, one of the fastest runs we've seen from the men or women today. About 30 seconds to get to the top here on problem number 2. Problem 4, pardon me, for Kyra Condi.
Off screen, Alex Puccio just was able to top women's number 2 after struggling with the beginning for a little bit.
Kyra Condi is going to get a lot of extra rest thanks to that effort. She has just one problem remaining.
Also, while we were away, Michaela Kirsch was able to do problem number 1.
So every athlete so far has gotten to the top of problem number 1. And it's early. We are going to advance the top 20, but when you can flash one of these boulders, that is huge as far as helping your standings overall.
A flash is always huge. The goal is to do things in as few tries as possible, and you just really want to have that 25 point as often as you can. And even if you don't top, you want to be able to flash to your high point. So say you only get 15, but if it was 15 on your first try, that's definitely more ideal. because it just comes down to falls sometimes.
Kyra Condi has gotten to the top of 3 of the 4 obstacles, and the fact that she flashed problem 4 is huge because she only received 5 points on problem number 2, so she needed that effort. She's going to need a solid effort on the 5th and final problem as well to get a solid spot inside that top 20.
Yeah, the flash will definitely help her. It'll also save her a lot of energy going into the 5th and final boulder problem. So every athlete is going to try to conserve as much energy as they can, because 5 boulder problems with only 4 minutes and 4 minutes of rest is quite exhausting. Women are getting ready to step up to the boulder soon with 10 seconds left.
10 seconds.
Talia Grossman already has her brush ready. Make sure the holds are nice and sticky.
And you mentioned it, having been in this position, 4 minutes sounds like a lot, but as a competitor, when you're looking at this thing for the first time, you have to take into account it's going to take you a few seconds to figure that thing out. So the more time you can save yourself up front and be prepared, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, you need as much time as possible, and especially on the problems that are a little longer, it really limits your amount of tries, so you want to be as prepared as possible.
Sierra Blair Coyle on her 5th and final problem. So far, she has topped 3 of the 4. Her worst score was 9.8, and that was on problem number 3. The climbers on all 5 problems. Sierra Blair Coyle, obviously the furthest, as she is on the 5th and final problem. Sienna Kopp is on problem number 1, and she's getting close to making that transition to the 25-point zone.
She lost her balance for a second, but she was able to fix it in order to now get 2 hands on the top.
Kopp will take a second to enjoy the view and then hop off, and she gets to the top. And Margot Hayes has just topped problem number 4 as Sierra Blair Coyle working on her 5th and final problem.
This move coming up is pretty cool because you kind of have to stand up and press into that volume. So you have to trust your feet and kind of do a somewhat coordinated movement into a stand-up. So kind of like a dynamic one-legged squat.
Sierra Blair Coyle looking at number 10 there, trying to get a solid hold to get credit for those points.
Really trying to be efficient here. She doesn't want to waste a try, so you see she's just trying to figure out how she can commit. Nicely done.
She will get to the 10-point zone, and now it's across the 15.
Another really committing move. She has to put her foot on a very tiny foothold and then kind of throw her body into a press on this 15 zone. Not necessarily the hardest move, but very committing, and if you hesitate, can really throw you off. You see she's trying to get the courage to kind of go for it here.
Right now. Come on, Sierra Blair Coyle. There you go.
She will get to 15.
Sure that she,
and then decides to come off. I don't know if she thought she was done, but she did think she was done, and she hopped off.
Oh my goodness. I was wondering, I was a little confused. I thought that they called her off, but I thought she was checking to make sure she had control, but
did not see the 25-point zone. It is around the corner, so that could be costly for Sierra Blair Coyle. Already has 3 tops, and now another attempt.
Definitely a mistake you don't want to make, but she may have enough time to get back up there. Really unfortunate mistake there.
Costly mental error for Sierra Blair Coyle.
Definitely looks a little more flustered now too. Just trying to get back up to that position.
Sierra looking for redemption.
Still has 20 seconds.
Come on, Sierra.
Gets to 15, and now will have 15 seconds to work her way towards 25.
Come on.
25 finish hold isn't amazing. Able to get to it.
And she will do it. Sierra Blair Coyle overcomes the mental effort, the mental mistake, I should say, and a great effort to get herself back on the wall and back to the top. So 4 tops for Sierra Blair Coyle in this qualifying round, and looking like we will see her tomorrow in the semifinals.
Definitely looking good for tomorrow. Everybody has their brushes out. It's how you can really tell a seasoned competitor.
Claire Burfine just putting her brush down. She is on problem 4, and then
Kyra Condi.
On the right of your screen is Kyra Condi.
Here we have Alex Puccio on women's number 3. She's a very dynamic and powerful climber. I don't expect this boulder problem to give her any trouble.
Puccio top problem number 1. She flashed problem number 2, getting all the way to the top on just 1 attempt. Now the 10-point zone is hers. 2 more to go till she gets to the top.
Just has to be careful with her foot placement here, because that volume is slippery. Does it very nicely, applying the proper amount of pressure to the volume in order to keep her feet on. Oof, slap in there onto the arete.
There you go, Alex.
Has the 15, 25 with one hand, just needs 2. She's gonna get it.
No problem for Alex Puccio, her second flash of the qualifying round. On problem 4, while we were watching Alex Puccio, Claire Burfine getting to the top on that boulder.
Claire was able to nicely get a top on number 4. Kyra with a top on number 5.
Kyra Condi closing out with a great effort, a top on 4 of the 5 problems. That 5 points in problem number 2. Her worst score, but she overcomes that nicely. 3 straight tops to close things out in the qualifying round for her.
It looks like that score might not hurt her too much. Definitely not ideal, as more people are being successful here. We have Michaela Kirsch on number 2, looking like she's in a good position to top, just has to find the right foot placement. Everyone keeps wanting to go with their right hand here, but it kind of throws you off.
Won't be able to get there.
Still has a bit of time, so it's possible. Chloe Koskoy is on the left with a top now for women's number 1.
Good effort for Chloe Koskoy on her opening ascent. 4 problems left for her, as she looks to be one of the at least 20 women moving on to the semifinal round that will be contested tomorrow, as we have hit now the 1-minute mark in this 4-minute window.
Michaela Kirsch hoping she has enough time to get back into that position to get her hands on top of 25. She kind of just went with the wrong hand that time. Hopefully she figures it out. Should have enough time to get there.
Trying to work her way over to that 10-point hold.
Does that move the static way, actually? We've seen a lot of people do it in a more dynamic and coordination way. Looks like she's gonna try to jump here. Ugh, unfortunately she's off.
Won't be able to make it, but we'll have more action from the opening round here coming up next. The 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championships continue at the Deschutes County Fair and Expo Center. Sean Woodland alongside Megan Martin, and we are well into the qualifying round for the women.
Here's a look at Margot Hayes setting up for the finish. Hold on problem 5, just needs to get her other hand up there. Very nicely done.
Margot Hayes will make it, closing out her qualifying round with a top. She will top 4 of the 5 problems. The only problem, she did not top problem 2, but she was able to score 15 points in the process. Quinn Mason getting to the top of problem number 1. Sienna Koff in the blue is on problem 2, and that is Brooke Rabitou on problem 4.
Close.
Still getting hung up on that transition as she makes her way from 5 to 10.
She's definitely one of the smaller climbers, so this jump is kind of big for her. Natalia Grossman coming off earlier, trying to get to the 15, so she's trying to make her way back up there.
This is problem 3 for Natalia Grossman. She got to the top on problem 1 and then was only able to get to the 15-point zone on problem 2.
Oh, so close to the 15 there.
So like we saw with the men, if you were watching earlier, problem 2 seems to be the toughest challenge for these climbers so far. Brooke Rabitou on 4, getting to the top there with plenty of time to spare.
Sienna Cobb setting up to try to figure out how she can get some more points on problem 2 here. Slowly inching towards the 5.
And now she has to work her way across to 10 and then up to 15 and finally 25. 30 seconds to go.
Good, Sissy.
Has the 15. Just has to see if she can get her body in the right position to finish this tricky finishing move on boulder number 2. Trying to mantle here, kind of slinking her way up. Looks like it's working though.
Final
One hand,
seconds.
She just needs 2. Can she get 2? Oh.
Can get her left hand to match.
Good effort by Sienna Cobb.
Using all 4 minutes, just can't quite get there. But one top and then a near miss on problem 2 for Sienna Cobb.
Alex Puccio sizing up the jump there on women's number 4.
Middle of your screen is Alex Puccio. She is on problem number 4. Puccio has topped every problem so far and flashed 2 of them in the process.
She's very explosive, so she should get up. Oof. Kind of was off balance there. She is very powerful and explosive. Coordination is a little tricky for her sometimes, but I'm sure she'll be able to figure it out. Just needs to find the right body position in order to set up for the jump.
Alex Puccio, an 11-time bouldering national champion. It's her 4th problem. Again, she has gotten to the top of the first 3 so far.
See if she can get this jump a little better. There she goes. Should have no problem finishing the rest. She has the 10. She's gonna grab the 15.
Puccio looking to stay perfect as she eyes the 25-point zone, and she will get it. 4 for 4 for Alex Puccio. Claire Burfine, while Puccio was getting to the top of problem 4, she gets to the top of problem 5.
Nicely threw herself into that 15 and actually grabbed it and dropped down immediately, where we've seen people press and then drop down. It looked really nice for her, and she was able to get 2 hands on the 25 with a great way to end her round.
Claire Burfine flashing problems 1, 3, and 4 and gets to the top of problem 5. Solid opening round for her as she has her eyes on the semifinal round tomorrow as one of the top 20 women to move on to the 2nd round.
We have Taya Wolf setting up to go for that 25 and getting a match and a top there. Chloe Koskoy trying to figure out how to get over to this sloping hole that has a small little foot jib on it. Oof.
Koskoy is off, and Michaela Kirsch is next to her. She's at the top of your screen. She's working on problem number 3.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Kirsch was able to flash problem number 1 for a perfect score of 25 points and a score of 15 on problem number 2.
Trying to rest up a bit there. She's a very successful sport climber, so she can hang on to the wall for a while. So if she can find a little rest, she's gonna try to make this work for her so she doesn't have to take as many attempts. Got to reach out to the next hold subtly without slipping. Set up for the 15. Ugh, unfortunately, she's not going to get the control there.
Can't quite get to the 15-point zone, so after topping problem number 1, Michaela Kirsch struggling on 2 and 3. Final 10 seconds of this 4-minute window. As that is Shima Shirashi. Shirishi. Thank you very much.
Begin climbing now.
She's one of the most successful competition climbers. Didn't do as well in the combined. Bouldering and sport climbing are her 2 specialties. Needs to work on her speed a little bit, but she should definitely shine here. Very technical climber, very creative. Gets herself into positions that nobody even thinks are possible, and then gets herself out of them too. So
She
always
was
been a very impressive climber.
A competitive climber by the age of 7. And she's really considered, as you mentioned, one of the top teenage climbers of either gender. And her best is still very much ahead of her. In 2017, she was the winner in the female sport category at the USA Climbing Sport and Speed Open National Championships in Denver, Colorado. And then she was second at the USA Climbing Bouldering Nationals that year as well.
She was also second last year, so she's been on the podium multiple times and always really fun to watch. Making quick work here, trying to get close to the 10.
You mentioned her ability to put herself in some different shapes that you wouldn't think possible. Her father was a dancer trained in the art of Buto. That might have something to do with her ability.
Maybe, probably. Has the 15 now. Just needs to trust the foot, easily getting over there. 1 hand and 2 hands on the 25 at the top.
No problem for Shirishi on problem 1 as athletes continue to make it to the top of that boulder. And thanks to that effort, Shirishi's going to get herself some extra rest. Quinn Mason is in the red. She is on problem 2. And Sienna Kopf has the brush out as she is working on problem number 3.
Quinn just trying to find the right body position here to get over. You feel so comfortable in that split position, but it's just kind of tricky trying to figure out how to get your left foot in the right position without flying off in somewhat of a barn door fashion, like she just fell to the side.
Mason still with plenty of time, 1:40 remaining in her 4-minute window. Trying to work her way back up to that 5-point zone and then over to the 10.
Back in that stemming position.
Only 2 women so far have gotten to the top of problem number 2. That's Sierra Blair Coyle and Natalia Grossman did it as well.
Looks like she's figuring out that she needs to press and bring her left foot in. Very nicely done. Can now get to the 5. And then here's the coordination move. Except she's going to try to do it static.
You have 1 minute remaining.
A little indecisive here. Coordination for the win.
She will get to the 15-point zone. So Quinn Mason, the 10-point zone, now trying to get to the 15-point zone and then a short hop to 25. Meanwhile, Sienna Kopf in the blue is still on the wall on problem number 3.
Looking pretty comfortable here. Now she has the 15, just has to set her feet up and then figure out how she can get to the 25 and then match it. Ugh.
Reaching with the right hand, but she will come off and doesn't look like she'll have enough time to maybe make another trip. And Kopf is off the wall as well. And they will give way to the next group of competitors.
10 seconds.
Alex Puccio stepping up for her 5th and final problem. She has topped everyone so far. So I said 2 women had topped to make that 3. Puccio, one of them, in fact, she flashed it. Perfect 25 points.
Yeah, she spent a good chunk of time in that middle section, but she definitely did not fall. Actually, after being on the boulders a bit yesterday, my prediction was that maybe 3 girls would top all 5. So I'm glad that there's a possibility right now that 1 could, because that was my
She would be the
prediction.
first. If she can get to the top here at problem number 5. Meanwhile, probably number 1, that's Emily Herdick.
Another
Tia
climber.
Wolf next to her in the orange.
Emily's out of Boulder, Colorado as well. Taya, unfortunately, already took 1 attempt by jumping up and then coming back down. That's an unfortunate attempt.
Because once your feet leave the mat, that counts as an attempt.
Correct. Michaela setting up for the final move here.
Very nice.
Michaela Kirsch will top problem 4.
Chloe Koskoy on the left. Now Alex Puccio is starting women's number 5, trying to figure out the subtle movements that are required here. Very technical climb, some mantling, which you'll see her press with that left hand up, which is what we call a mantle. Now, somewhat coordination, stand up to the 10. Makes you feel a little hesitant. Ugh, just came out a little bit too much and pulled her off.
Just about halfway through her 4-minute window as she looked to get to that 10-point zone, and now going to the brush. Puccio trying to become the first woman to get to the top of all 5 obstacles. We are still early here in the qualifying round. Just 13 of the 53 women have gotten to the wall.
Just trying to manage her time here so she has enough time to do the boulder, but she doesn't want to get on too early either, because she definitely wants to finish her round with another top. And in the past, she has topped all 5 in qualifiers many different times, so it's definitely a trend she likes to keep going.
Puccio now with her 2nd attempt.
Looks like she didn't notice that the 2-hand start is on her right hand, so she was going back to match the left hand, which she didn't need to do, which is actually making it a little bit harder.
Puccio trying to get to the 10-point zone. This is where she fell on her last attempt.
Just needs to stand up a little taller here. Yes, she's able to do it. Some real aggressive try hard there in the shoulders.
Up next is the 15, and then she'll have to work her way around the corner and up to 25.
Just needs to commit to throwing her body into a press on this 15.
Nice, Alex.
Nicely done.
Puccio is there, and this next movement is all that remains between her and
Seems a little uncomfortable here.
going 5 for 5 in this opening round.
She kind of needs to fall into the 15, but right now she's trying to stay pressed. Looks like it's not going to happen for her today.
Won't be able to make it, but Alex Puccio tops 4 of the 5 opening boulders. Back with more next. The 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship is brought to you by The North Face, inspiring and enabling exploration since 1966. And for you Western fans, that is a look at the cabin of one Rooster Cogburn, the character played by John Wayne in the original movie True Grit. All kinds of sights to see here in the state of Oregon. Ashima Shirishi on problem number 2, showing some true grit on problem 1 as she flashed that in a perfect score of 25 points.
Just trying to figure out how she can get her hands on the 25 here. She has one. This is where I'm talking about the weird body positions. I mean, she's so creative. It's always so impressive to watch.
Ashima Shirishi is tearing through these first 2 problems, as problem 2 has been a bit of a challenge for a lot of the athletes here, but not for Ashima Shirishi. Quinn Mason in the red is on problem number 3.
Quinn's trying to figure out her body position here so she can go out to that right hold. The feet there are very slippery. There's nothing actually on the volume, that geometric shape that you see where she had her right foot. So she's just trying to press or smear against it.
Quinn is going to take a seat and use this remaining time to add to her 4 minutes of rest that are coming up. We are ready for the next round as this 4-minute window closes out, as all the climbers in that window are done.
10 seconds. Time. Climbers, you may begin climbing.
Michaela Kirsch turning around and getting a look at the 5th and final problem for her. Kirsch has topped 2 of the 4 so far, problems 1 and problems 4, and she flashed both of them for a perfect score of 25 points.
Definitely would be good for her to flash, or not flash, but to top this one. A flash would be great too, but definitely a top would help her score to secure her a better spot.
At least the top 20 of the 53 women in the field will move on to the semifinals tomorrow, and Kirsch looking to be one of those women. That's Chloe Koskoy in the pink top. She is on problem 4, and Taya Wolf is on problem 3. She is in the orange pants.
Chloe making quick work here of women's number 4.
She'll get credit for that 25-point zone.
That'll be her second top so far of the round. Michaela getting through that mantle section pretty easily. Now preparing for the stand-up coordination move to the 10 zone. The very small 10 zone. Oh, choosing to go left hand, which we have not seen, and look definitely more difficult.
Her hand will slip, and she will have to make another attempt to get herself to that 10-point zone. On problem 1, that is Megan Lynch, number 16. Next to her on problem 2 is Emily Hurdick, as she comes off the wall.
Megan making quick work here. She has the 15 now.
Yeah, come on.
Needs to figure out a way to get to the 25. 25 has to trust her feet. Taya Wolf with a top on women's number 3, her second top of the round.
And it's Megan Lynch getting to the top of problem number 1. So Emily Hurdick on problem 2 is still working. And Michaela Kirsch on problem 5, trying to close out her qualifying round with as close to 25 points as possible. Going to the brush on the far side of your screen, on the far right side, as we take a look at Emily Hurdick on problem 2, and she is off as she was reaching for that 5-point zone.
Michaela Kirsch ready to get on boulder number 5 again. Hopefully she'll go with her right hand to the 10 zone this time, since the left hand hasn't worked twice already. Sometimes it's hard not to get tunnel vision. Still going with her left hand, but making it work. Really good effort there by Michaela Kirsch, setting up nicely for that fall-in move to the 15.
2 moves are all that remains, and Kirsch cannot hang on to 15, and just 43 seconds left for her on this final problem.
It's going to be rough, but possibly enough time. Once you get to the end of the round, there's no point in not trying, because every point counts.
Now 30 seconds for Kirsch. Just 2 climbers left on the wall.
Here she goes, setting up for that number 10 zone again, which gave her trouble earlier, but hopefully she can stick it again.
10 seconds.
Oof.
So won't happen for Kirsch, as her qualifying round will end. Being joined now by Josh Larson, who is the head coach of USA Climbing. You've been around checking out the event so far. What have your thoughts been on this opening day?
Hi, thanks for having me. My thoughts for the day are awesome. It's so good to see so many competitors show up all the way out here in Redmond. And yeah, it's going great. The guys are still going through, but everyone's still looking psyched and motivated, and the girls are just kicking off. Looks like a good round.
In 2020, we've mentioned this before, but climbing will be part of the Summer Olympics. How has that affected USA Climbing and what you're going through in order to prepare for that?
I think it's affected USA Climbing in a very positive way. It's really motivated us to do make a lot of changes, and it's going to challenge us and every other federation out there to be better. And I mean, I can only think positive things about it.
What is your ideal situation for Team USA in terms of training and, you know, really being able to help these athletes grow?
I think the ideal situation is, I mean, because US is so big, making it just feel a bit smaller by having a home base is going to be really important. And we'll have that in Salt Lake in the next couple months, a place where all the athletes can come together and climb as a team. And I think the more we can replicate World Cups and World Championships, the better our athletes will be prepared.
Shima Shirishi may be one of those athletes who's moving on. She's been pretty impressive so far in qualifying. She's on problem number 3. I know you guys are working towards putting together your national team for those World Cup competitions. You don't have the roster set yet, but when you look at the field that you have of the best athletes, what do you think the strengths of this team are going to be?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, we don't have the full roster, but just kind of in general, our strengths are our athletes are very motivated and they're fully dedicated. The ones that have the potential are all in. And the strengths are we have very, very talented athletes, and they just can't express themselves as much as they want to or could on some of the World Cup circuits because the bouldering and styles are so different from the American standard style. So I think being able to get them more comfortable in these situations are just going to be better for them.
It's Abigail York who is on problem number 1 as she gets to the floor for the first time.
She's struggling to get to the 5. We haven't seen anyone struggle in a bit to get to the 5. Looks like she's trying to go strictly dynamic. Ouch. Did not look.
She'll take a spill, and Alex Johnson is on problem number 2. She's in those long pants in the middle of your screen.
It's really nice to see Alex Johnson back here competing at Bouldering Nationals. She's been on the podium multiple times in the past. She's won 2 World Cups. Kind of took a break from competing in these competitions. Was doing other, you know, less prestigious competitions, but it was nice to see her back out here trying to get on the team again.
Alex Johnson has time to make maybe one more attempt. This is where we stand so far in this opening qualifying round. Margot Hayes is your leader, followed by Claire Burfine, Natalia Grossman by 1/10 of a point over Alex Puccio. So very close there at the top as all these women look to be in that field of at least 20 who will move on to the semifinal round that will be contested tomorrow, and then the top 6 from the semifinals will move on to the final round, and that is Saturday evening.
She hasn't quite figured out that she needs to kind of get her left foot over earlier. Oh, but she makes it work anyway. Really impressive. Needs to keep it together, not rush it. See if she can top this in the nick of time. Oh, one hand on the finish. Really nicely done there by Alex Johnson.
Josh, we were talking earlier about how nice it is now for you guys to actually have a central location to train the U.S. team. How much of a difference is that making as you guys prepare now for the World Cup?
That's going to be a huge difference for our athletes to just feel like they have a place that they can call their training center, their home. It's going to be a work in progress because it's just something new for everyone. So we're not sure, you know, if our athlete's going to move to where the training center is. Our athlete's going to come in weekly, monthly. You know, these things we're going to be learning and building as the next couple months move forward.
Josh Larson, head coach of USA Climbing, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the event. We'll have more from the qualifying round in Redmond, Oregon when we return. Moments ago, Taya Wolf on problem 4.
Really nice top here. It's a very committing finishing move. And earlier in the problem, she was able to stick the double clutch dyno too. So that's 3 tops for Taya Wolf actually, setting her up really nicely to make it into the semifinal.
This is Megan Lynch. She is on problem number 2. She and Chloe Koskoy, the only two climbers left on the wall. Koskoy's at the far end on the right side of your screen. She's on problem number 5.
Megan trying to figure out this not so obvious body positioning section, trying to just go for the jump without bringing the left foot in, which Alex Johnson was actually able to do earlier.
This is Chloe Koskoy trying to figure out problem number 5 and close out her qualifying round.
She's been struggling trying to get to the 10 zone here. She's gotten her hands on it, but she keeps falling off without getting control. So looking to see if she can get control of that 10 zone right now as the clock counts down.
Look at her scores through the first 4 problems. She really needs to get to the top here. And problem number 5, if she wants a solid chance of making it into the top 20 in the qualifying round.
Gets the 10. Now for the committing fallen move to the 15.
Chloe Koskoy looking for that finish.
Needs to be aware that she's running out of time now, just 10 seconds.
Definitely needs to move quick.
Come on, Chloe.
Really needs to go. Needs 2 hands still.
Time.
Doesn't look
Not
like she's
in
going to
time,
get it.
unfortunately.
Just missed getting her right hand.
It'll be up to the judge, but to me that did not look like she matched in time, but at least she'll get the 15. It'll help her score.
Judging by her reaction, it doesn't look like she's going to get credit for it. Let's take one more look at it. She gets her left hand on, but then it's the right hand that's the key.
She's putting her heel up. The clock hits 0, and her right hand's still not on. Definitely did not, unfortunately, get the top on number 5 for Chloe Koskoy.
And then you see the reaction, and she knew it too. Just took a little too much time on that final movement. We'll see if that costs her. She really could have used the top there on that final obstacle. Shima Shirisi now on problem number 4, and she has been almost perfect so far. Flashing problems 1 and 3, and then a 24.8 on problem 2.
Looking at these boulders and having climbed on them, this is the only one that worried me for her. Jumping is not her strongest point in terms of climbing skills. She basically has all the other skills. Just needs to work on the jumping a bit. So she's gonna have to try a bit harder here since it doesn't come as naturally for her. But hopefully she's able to get there.
Shima is also trying to become the first woman in this qualifying round to top all 5 boulders. Alex Puccio came close, but then couldn't close it out on problem 5. And now Shirishi running into some problems on problem number 4.
Definitely a better attempt from Ashima on her second try. Looked better set up to hit that double clutch. Abigail York in the stem on women's number 2, trying to figure out how she can get some points.
Shirishi off the wall again, halfway through her 4-minute window.
She's kind of tried back-to-back here, so it might be a good idea for her to rest a little bit more since it is such a powerful move. Looks like she is taking a bit more time. Once she sticks it, she'll be fine. Katie Malinowski on number 1, 1 hand, 2 hands, and that's a top for her.
Katie Malinowski will hop off and get some extra rest as she gets to the top of problem number 1. Back to Ashima Shirishi on problem number 4, and this is the sticking point for her on this movement. And she almost had it.
Super close. I think if she just rests maybe 15 seconds, and I think she can latch it on this next try.
As a competitor, when you know the clock is winding down, what does that do to you mentally?
Nice stick for Ashima Shirishi. The clock definitely, at first you don't mind it, but once it's down to like 2 minutes, you start to get a little frazzled because you realize you're really running out of time, and if you haven't made enough progress by then, you might be out of luck. Ashima's setting up here for the final move. Not the most difficult, just very committing. Sticks it, no problem.
4 for 4.
Keeping her record.
For Ashima Shirishi. And it was the beginning of this problem that was really the crux. She failed multiple times here, but finally able to make that move.
really explosive. She actually moved her foot up, her right foot up higher so that she could get a little more power to boost her up and hit that double clutch with that left hand. Very pleased with that.
All smiles for Ashima Shirishi as she has topped all four boulders that she has faced.
Very nice.
And now Quinn Mason just beating the clock, and she will top problem number 5.
Nothing like a buzzer beater. So that'll be 3 tops for Quinn Mason there. So setting her up nicely going in, hopefully to semifinals. Madeline Morris on women's number 1, brushing the holds. We're getting further into the competition, so the holds are getting more and more greasy.
Taya Wolf is on her 5th and final problem of this qualifying round. 53 women have started the competition. At least 20 will move on to the qualifying round, or the semifinal round, pardon me.
Taya is currently in a nice position, having 3 tops already. A 4th top would really just secure a spot for her.
Problem 2 was really the only hiccup that she had, 4.9 points there, but she could really make up for that with a top to closings out here on problem 5, and she is at the 5-point zone already.
Definitely unfortunate to only get the 5 on number 2. We've seen a couple people do that. Kyra Condi as well struggled on women's number 2. Taya setting up here for the coordination stand-up move. You see everybody hesitates before, because once you go, there's no going back, so you gotta feel right before you move.
You versus gravity, and gravity tends to win in that situation.
She definitely hesitated a little too much, didn't stand up as aggressively as she needs to, so her body was kind of pulled away from the wall.
Taya Wolf would really love to get at least to 15. Remember that 4.9 on problem 2 is kind of sticking out like a sore thumb right now for her.
Definitely would place her better if she can get past, at least get the 10 here, and then hopefully finish the problem. Megan Lynch in the middle of the screen, making her way through women's number 3. Looking pretty smooth here, just has to set up. There you go. Oh, unfortunately, a little shallow on that cross move to the 15.
Left hand slipping a bit for her. Now back to Wolf on problem 5 with less than 1:30 remaining.
Taya took a very appropriate amount of rest time. Definitely enough time to still do the boulder and recover a bit as well. This move's a little more taxing than it might seem. Really have to roll over on that right foot and then press up through your tricep on the number 5. So it's not the most comfortable. Kind of can't breathe there.
Putting that much tension on your body has just got to be taxing, especially when you've been through 4 problems already.
Most definitely. Has to set up. She really needs to commit here. Ugh,
can't get to the 10-point zone, so despite her success in 3 of the 4 obstacles, remember those 4.9 points that she only scored on problem 2 are not going to help her cause. Needs to make up for that on problem 5. That's Megan Lynch on problem 3 getting to the top. Now final seconds for Taya Wolf. And it's not going to happen.
It's definitely going to hurt her score here. Hopefully she's done enough. She definitely looks a little disappointed.
She had 3 tops and 1 flash, but again, just 4.9 points in problem 2, and she does not get to the top on boulder number 5. Ashima Shirishi looking to run the table and become the first woman to get to the top of all 5 problems.
This boulder problem will suit her very well. I'd be surprised if we didn't see a top from her here. So much chalk coming off that number 5 zone. So necessary to brush.
There's a look at what she has done so far. 2 flashes on problem 1 and problem 3, and she has reached the top on all 4 so far. Alex Puccio earlier in this qualifying round was in the same position, looking to go 5 for 5 and couldn't get to the top of this 5th and final problem. Shirishi with her first attempt.
Which I think is pretty cool, the comparison between those 2 climbers in general, because both of them are phenomenal climbers, but just very different styles. This is a style that Alex is not as good at, whereas Ashima's not as good at the powerful jumping that Alex is good at. Setting up for this coordination move, does it easily.
Makes it, and she is at the 10-point zone. So this is where we saw Teo Wolf struggle, and Shirishi no problem getting to the 10-point zone, and now looking to make her way across to the 15-point zone.
The committing fall-in move here. Nicely done.
Shirishi is there. Now one final turn to 25.
Your body is set up kind of weird here. It feels foreign, so you're not sure what to do. The hold's pretty good, but still not the best. And for a smaller climber here, reaching to that 25 is a little more difficult.
Left hand is there, right hand is there. It's a flash to close out the qualifying round for Ashima Shirishi as she tops all 5 problems. Back with more from the USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship when we return. Ashima Shirishi just climbed to the top of problem number 5, and with that effort, she has climbed to the top of the overall leaderboard here in the qualifying round. 124.3 points out of a possible 125 points, so nearly perfect for Ashima Shirishi, as she will definitely be moving on to the semifinal round tomorrow. Qualifying round continuing here at the Deschutes County Fair and Expo Center.
Here's Emily Hurdick on women's number 5, kind of struggling here to figure out how to get into that mantling position. Looks like she's kind of figuring it out, needs to bring that right foot over.
And Hurdick has got to get to the top here if she wants any chance of getting into the semifinal round, as she received a 0 on problem 1.
Yeah, 0 is definitely a killer on a boulder problem, so she's trying to make her way up to that 10 there.
Got just 5 points on problem 2, so this is huge for her if she wants an outside chance of getting in to the top 20. Was able to flash problem 3 and then got to the top on problem 4. And now a slip.
Didn't really commit to that stand-up move. I'm actually noticing that a lot of the taller competitors, if they can reach that volume, they're less inclined to really commit to the stand-up move, which is definitely the best way to be doing and the intended way to do that movement. So it kind of messes with their heads a bit, and they kind of hesitate on what they want to do.
Madeline Morris is on the right of your screen. She is on problem 2, and Nakaya Sanders is on the left. She's number 22. She's making her first appearance here in the qualifying round on problem number 1.
Earlier, Nakaya was up a little bit higher on problem number 1, but unfortunately slipped. Trying to figure out how she got up there earlier. That's the worst, when you forget. It totally happens. You're so in the zone. Nicely done at the 5 here for Nakaya.
Trying to work her way towards that 10-point zone, and right above that is the 15-point hold.
Has the 10. On the 15, just needs to figure out how to reach out here and get to the 25 without slipping. Going kind of dynamic. Nicely done, good commitment, and a top for Nakaya Sanders.
Good opening effort for Nakaya Sanders. She gets to the top of problem number 1. Madeline Morris, meanwhile, in the white, going back after problem number 2. And that is Emily Hurdick, who is in some dire straits early on here. Has got to get to the top of problem number 5. Madeline Morris trying to get to the 10-point zone on problem 2.
Just trying to figure out what the body position is here. You can tell she kind of wants to bring her left foot in, but it doesn't feel fully comfortable. Gets her foot in, able to get to the 5. Here's the coordination move. Trying to just twist into it instead, statically.
Won't be able to get herself around the corner. That 10-point zone wasn't too far as space is concerned, but I'm sure that seems like a mile away when you're in that position trying to hang on for dear life.
10 seconds.
Maggie Hammer getting ready for problem number 1 as we are in the final seconds of this 4-minute window. And now Hammer will take her first turn on the wall.
Maggie's one of our younger competitors. She's been a successful youth competitor, competing in a lot of the adult National Cup Series competitions this year. Stepping up on problem number 1. She's a pretty technical climber. I've seen her do really well on slab, so not surprised that she was able to figure out the first steps, but I think she'll think of doing something else this next time. Also one of our shorter climbers.
Wingspan equal to her height. Trying to get to that 5-point zone on her second attempt.
Definitely a little more progress there. On number 2, we have Ashley Fisher getting into this tricky stem area. She's actually one of our tallest competitors. Trying to figure out just how to get into the 5 zone. Nice foot placement there. Definitely needs her left hand there. Has the 5. Now has to.
Maggie Hammer, meanwhile, has gotten to the 10.
Now the 15.
After some early struggles, Maggie Hammer gets to the top and will hop off with a great opening effort on her first of 5 problems here in the qualifying round.
Abigail York getting a top here on women's number 4. I believe this is her first top of the competition, so very helpful.
Approaching the 2-minute mark.
Ashley Fisher still struggling here, trying to figure out just how to get around the corner. She may be able to do it without bringing her left foot in because she is taller.
Fisher getting a little hung up.
Still uncomfortable in the positioning.
Come on, stay there. Come on. There you go. You still in it. Come on.
Unfortunately, not able to get that coordination move.
Katie Malinowski is in the upper right part of your screen in the pink top. She is on problem number 3.
There you go.
Katie trying to keep the tension there in her shoulders to get to the 15. Able to get the 15. Just trying to get to that 25 one hand on. She needs 2. And able to get the top there on women's number 2.
Good fight from Malinowski. She comes up with the top.
You have 1 minute remaining.
1 minute remaining. Ashley Fisher is still on the wall. She's on problem 2. Alex Johnson is trying to close out her qualifying round on problem 5.
She previously got to the 15 and then her foot actually slipped, so she's hoping to get back up there this time. Another one of our taller competitors. Sometimes the body positioning is a little different on some of these boulder problems. Actually able to reach the 10, where we've seen so many people have to stand up without their hand. She was in this position before, got to the 15 and then happened to slip, so let's see if she can figure out how to get into it here.
She has flashed 2 of the 5 problems.
Really able to get there. She should reach the 25, no problem.
Just a
Get 2
couple
hands on,
seconds
she only has a couple
remaining
seconds.
and she will get
Another
it.
top for Alex Johnson. Great round for Alex Johnson.
Just beating the time, Alex Johnson will close out her qualifying round. More for Redmond, Oregon when we come back. About halfway through the opening qualifying round for the women here at the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship. Your top 5, and Alex Johnson, courtesy of that effort that we just saw before we left you, has moved into the top 5, just 1/10 of a point behind Claire Burfind. Alex Puccio, who was in the top 5 the last time we showed it to you, dropped down to 6th. But still very solid as far as a spot in the semifinal round is concerned. The least the top 20 athletes moving into that semifinal round that will be contested tomorrow.
Madeline Morris just flying off of women's number 3. Unable to stick that little jump in the beginning. It's a good hold, but you kind of swirl around on it, kind of like a helicopter or something. Your legs go flying, so it's a little jarring when you hit it. Definitely looks a little easier than it actually is. Megan Lynch on women's number 5. Standing up nicely through that mantle section.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Stands up easily into the 10 zone.
And now this is the transition that has given a lot of athletes problems as she comes off the wall.
Ooh.
Lynch got to 10, but just didn't have a good hold up there. She was looking to make the transition over to 15.
And that's one thing I was saying earlier about this round. It's not even necessarily that the boulders are so hard. There's so many little places where you can make tiny little mistakes and lose your balance and fall. And in 4 minutes, you can't really afford to do that. Ooh, jumping into the 15.
Lynch is there, and now will get her left hand on 25, and there's the right hand to match.
Nice finish.
Megan Lynch closing out with the top on problem number 5.
Time. Climbers may begin climbing now.
Megan Lynch, maybe some nervous laughter there. She realizes that she had just a few seconds to spare, but she gets to the top inside the 4-minute cap. Maggie Hammer sizing up problem number 2. Got to the top of problem 1 on her 3rd attempt.
Getting into this tricky section, easily bringing her left foot in. Really read that well. Just a little foot slip there, but at least she knows what she needs to do. Did not come as easily for a lot of the competitors. Seemed a little difficult to figure out.
Maggie Hammer will get to work again as she hops back up on problem number 2.
Back in that press position. She's really going to focus on her feet here this time. Oh, moved a little too fast. As a shorter competitor, she's going to have to move a little slower to the 5 because it is kind of far. She can reach it, but she can't go so quickly to it.
That's Sarah Kate Ashton topping problem number 1 for her opening ascent.
Katie Malinowski is sticking the double clutch on women's number 4. She's had 2 tops already. So a 3rd would definitely put her in a nice position. She's currently in 17th.
Solid hold on 10 and now the right hand on 15. All that's left is to get to the final 25-point zone, and no problem for Katie Malinowski. And with plenty of time to spare, so she buys herself an extra 2 minutes of rest.
Maggie Hammer trying to work. Ooh, whoa. Really aggressive fall there. It looks like she's okay.
Time to shake that one off. One more look at what happened here.
She was really spanned out there. It may have been a better idea to kind of slowly release instead of jumping, just because the 15 zone hold is not that good. But she has plenty of time to get back on there and try it again.
1 minute, 20 seconds remaining.
Come on, Ashley.
Abigail York setting up, trying to get to the 27, or wow, sorry, the 10 zone, 27.
It's been a long day. She is off the wall. Maggie Hammer back to work on women's number 2.
Maggie's gonna have to move quickly, but even if she doesn't have enough time to top, getting to the 15 would be really good for her, so it's worth it. Unfortunately, I think she just moved a little too fast.
Another slip at the 5-point zone. Was able to get to the top of problem number 1. And
good save there.
now needs to move across to
there she goes, slower
number
to the
10.
5. Nicely done. Has to figure out how to slow this whole thing down. Just a little too much swing there. Needed to release that foot first.
Got her hand on that 15 zone, but doesn't look like she will get credit for it. The qualifying round continues here in Redmond, Oregon. Back inside the Deschutes County Fair and Expo Center, where Bimini Horseman on the first problem, looking to get to the 5-point zone. Out of Davidson, North Carolina, just 19 years old.
She's originally from Newton, Massachusetts. She's going to school out there in North Carolina now. Trying to make her way right now to the 5-point zone. Looking pretty good, nice and slow. Just has to stand up, kind of get that little 5, able to do it. Really nicely done.
She will get there and now figure out a way to get to the 10-point zone at the top of your screen.
Grabbing that other tiny hold that is not a scored hold, but an equally small hold to the 5 zone. Going to reach out for the 10 zone.
She will get that. Now this is the movement that at the beginning of the day was giving some people problems, and that's getting their left foot secure on that volume.
Yeah, I actually wonder if with time this foothold is actually getting better, because sometimes the volumes can be a little sandy. So the more people climb on them, the less sandy they become. And it kind of seems that way. Nice top there for Bimini Horseman.
We have seen fewer slips on that volume, and Horseman had no problem, and she will top the first boulder. On problem 3, the crew is out cleaning that up.
We have a blood technical, so obviously for sanitary purposes, they need to clean that up.
And that is one thing. I mean, the climbers' hands, they don't get to wear any protection, no gloves, nothing. I mean, they take a beating during this competition.
Exactly. Usually during this 3-round weekend competition, it's not uncommon to have people in the finals bleeding. It happens all the time. Last year, it was myself and Margot bleeding everywhere. Unfortunately, they're really abrasive. You can always tape, but it doesn't, it makes it harder for you to climb when you have tape on your fingers.
That was a look at the hands of one Madeline Morris. So far, her skin is intact.
Definitely in this round, you don't really want to be bleeding if you're trying to make it into the next 2 rounds.
Just saw Katie Malinowski on problem 5. Those were the hands of Maggie Hammer.
Katie has 3 tops already, so she's looking to get her 4th top in here, set her up for a nice position. She's currently in 16th, so a top here would be vital for her just to be more comfortable, because there are a few more climbers coming out that have the potential to be in the semifinal.
And it just goes to show you why points are huge, because 4.8 in problem 2, that is what might keep her out of the top 20, depending on what she does here on problem number 5.
Exactly. Nice start getting to the 5. Choosing to not bring her foot up first, which is proving to not be the best decision, but she has plenty of time to figure out what she needs to do.
And the crux of that problem is that transition between 10 and 15. Back to problem 1, where Arabella Jeriel makes it to the 25, and she will top problem number 1.
Really nicely done there by Arabella. Back to Katie Malinowski, now choosing to use the foot, but still having a hard time with the mantle.
Halfway through her 4-minute window. Sarah Kate Ashton, number 25. This is her second problem.
See if she tries to go with a coordination move here. Looks like she's setting up for it. Was a little hesitant. I think if she commits to it a little more, she'll be able to do it.
Malinowski making another attempt on problem 5.
In a better position for the mantle here. Now she can set up to go to the number 10 zone.
Malinowski trying to get her left hand up there to get credit for it. Now she makes attempt with the right hand, but falls off.
Comes up a little short, needs to commit a little more and actually stand up into the wall a bit more.
So Malinowski's running out of time here. Remember that 4.8 in problem number 2. She needs to get as many points as she possibly can here on problem number 5.
Definitely needs to start moving because it is one of the more technical boulder problems. You need to have the time so that you're not rushing, because you don't want to have a slip late in the boulder.
And now another fall.
Looking like she's getting a bit tired. Ashley Fisher on women's number 3. Oh, wait, yeah, 3, yeah. Sorry. Katie, unfortunately, not able to get it done on women's number 5.
And she needed a big performance there, as Ashley Fisher is on 3 and will not be able to top that.
Time.
Sarah Kate Ashton cannot get to the top either.
Bimini Horseman brushing the holds on women's number 2.
So because of that blood technical, the things have shifted just a little bit, as Kaya Saunders is now on problem 3. She's on the right of your screen. It delayed some things. According to the schedule, she should be on 4, but she is back on 3. And then next to her is Bimini Horstman, number 26, flashed problem number 1 for a perfect score of 25 points.
Bimini taking a long time, a full minute already, to brush and look at this boulder problem.
Bimini taking her time already, more than a minute spent sizing up problem number 2.
She's kind of at the end of the round before the route setters start brushing, so it is a smart move. Nakaya Sanders getting high up on women's number 3. She is one of the youngest competitors at 15 years old. Oh, big fall there for Nakaya. Still has time to figure it out. Really needs to shift her weight to the right, get her left foot over in order to get up to that 15.
Horseman is ready to go and making her way up problem number 2 after taking a long time to read this boulder.
Trying to figure out how to get to the 5. It's a very tricky section, as we've seen throughout this competition. Gonna press here, hopefully bring her left foot in. Oh, trying to toe hook actually. Is using her toe underneath the hold, which we have not seen really done. Looks like it's pulling her down. She needs to be a little higher to get to the 5. Gonna try to bypass it because she's already stuck. Ooh.
Got her left hand on it. That'll be a judgment call there. I'm not sure if she had control.
Yeah, definitely gonna go to the judges.
Nakaya Sanders on 3.
Back up to where she was a few moments ago. Really trying to get to that 15.
Great performance on 1, and then you saw the 0 in problem 2, so no room for error for her in the remainder of these problems in this qualifying round.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Nakaya taking a moment to just sit down and look at the boulders, kind of resting as much as she can. Bimini trying to find her way around the corner here, going for that coordination move. Did it a little differently and happened to work for her. Running out of time, definitely still has time to finish, but needs to be efficient here because this boulder is definitely not over.
She has the 10 and now trying to get to 15.
Able to control the swing there. Just has to figure out a way to get to the 25. Good flip there on that right hand. See if she can figure out how to get up there.
Come on, baby.
Horseman eyeing that 25. It's
one hand, she still needs 2. Trying
right
to figure
hand
out,
is there.
Oh, crazy.
Left hand
crazy
is there, and she will
position.
get it. Just inside that 4-minute cap for Bimini Horseman. Arabella Jeriel moving to problem 2. She's at the bottom of your screen in that green top. Maggie Hammer is on 3. She's in those long black pants. And then Sarah Kate Ashton in the middle of your screen is on women's 3.
Maggie Hammer setting up for the little jump here to that good hold, but really makes you fly, just as Maggie just did. Arabella Jeriel getting into the funky section of women's number 2.
Trying to make her way to that 5-point zone and then across to the 10. And this has been the sticking point for the majority of the climbers who have tackled this boulder so far.
Doing a good job taking her time and staying calm. Maggie about to set up for that jump again, see if she can control her swing a little bit more, able to do so. One of my favorite things about climbing, especially in competitions, is just the learned movement from one try to the next. Ooh, good save there by Maggie Hammer. Gets the 10.
Come on, man. Stay solid.
Maggie trying to make that leap to 15. Ashley Fisher is on women's 4. She is in the all black.
Able to stick that double clutch.
There you go, Ashley.
Fisher to the 10 and will reach over to the 15.
Gonna set up for that jump to the 25. Very committing. She might be able to reach, actually. She's pretty tall. Yeah, can keep the foot.
Fisher has it. She will top women's 4. One boulder remaining for Ashley Fisher in this opening qualifying round, a 2-day competition here at the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering National Open Championship. At least 20 women move on to the semifinals, 53 in this opening qualifying round.
Maggie able to stick that jump smoothly again. Trying to get back into position so she can try and attempt to get control of that 15 zone point. Better body position. Oh.
1 minute remaining.
Hammer is off the wall. Inside a minute to go.
Definitely one of the more taxing boulder problems in this round, as I believe it has the most moves. And on that angle, you're kind of on the entire time, so it's definitely necessary to take enough rest, especially since it's the third boulder and you'll have 2 more to follow.
She is at the 5-point zone. Now working her way up towards a 10-point hold, and she will have it with the left hand.
Trying to get in a better position here. Little progress.
Be able to make it to that 15-point zone. Great effort from Maggie Hammer. More from the Deschutes County Fair and Expo Center when we come back. Qualifying continuing as Nikaya Sanders gets to the top of problem number 4.
Definitely a good top. I think that's just her second of the round, so one she definitely needed to get.
Let's go back to her ascent here up. Problem number 4.
She took a moment here to kind of take a breather, to set herself up to go for that 25. She had to try the bottom jump quite a few times, and it is extremely tiring, so really smart to take a few moments and breathe before setting up for this jump to the 25 hold.
With Sanders topping problem 4 and now able to smile about it, Sarah Kate Ashton is on women's problem 3. And very close, and now having that 10-point zone.
Just has to get in the right body position here. Feet are kind of slippery. Has to set up properly to get to the 15. Smart to bring the foot in.
Perfect
Really
on problem
fighting.
1, and then 9.7 on problem 2, and now she's off the wall.
You have 1 minute
Inside
remaining.
a minute to go for Sarah Kate Ashton.
Sarah Kate Ashton probably wishes she had a little more time so she could rest, but if she's going to do this boulder problem, she definitely needed to get back on the wall right now, as she did. Holds that swing nicely.
Trying to get herself to that 10-point zone and then get to 15 to score those valuable points.
Just got to keep the body tension here and set her feet up. Oh, just a little zapped.
Just can't get it to go for Sarah Kate Ashton. She does get to that 10-point zone. So after topping problem 1, she has yet to get to the top in the subsequent 2 problems, and that will bring on Bimini Horseman, who will take on problem number 3 after flashing problem 1, getting to the top on her opening attempt, and then just taking 2 attempts to get to the top of problem number 2.
Taking the time to brush the holds, as you see so many of the athletes do. Make sure that they have the optimal amount of friction when they decide to try and climb. Those brushes are heavy.
Horseman mentally going through.
She's actually taken more time than most people. She's taken like about a minute or more to read the boulder problem and brush the holds each time. I think the only other person who was close to that was Margot Hayes.
We've seen a couple athletes take quite a bit of time to read this boulder.
Seeing that this one is the one with the most amount of moves and in such a steep angle, you do want to make sure you kind of have it all together on the first go, because it would just set you up nicely to only have to try it once. Bimini setting up for the jump here.
Horseman has her right hand on that hold and can't control the swing.
I think we'll see her try to go with 2 hands next time.
shaking out her hands a bit and then going to the chalk bag before she starts her second attempt.
Stepping up for her next attempt on women's number 3. Powerful moves from the start. Here she sets up for the jump.
This is where she slipped last time, able to secure with both hands like you thought, and now on to the 10-point zone.
Trying to reach out there in stem. Looks like she's going to have to actually go to the hold first.
She will get the 10. 2 remaining.
Now it's the setup to reach out for this precarious move to the unscored hold. Now it's the set up for the powerful move to the 15.
Horseman with a methodical ascent here. 15 is within reach.
Has to get to that 25.
She will have it, 1 to go.
1 minute remaining.
One hand needs 2.
Solid grip with her right hand, needs to match with her left.
Come on, baby. Say it. Come on.
Definitely a little fatigued here, just trying to figure out how to get 2 hands on that finish hold.
And Horseman is there. Good fight from her at the top of that problem, and she will top problem number 3. Bimini Horseman getting to the top here on problem 3. Qualifying action continues when we return to the Deschutes County Fair and Expo Center. The 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship is brought to you by The North Face, inspiring and enabling exploration since 1966. Smith Rock, just outside of our location here in Redmond, Oregon, one of the most famous landmarks in all of climbing and considered to be the birthplace of the sport of climbing. Bimini Horseman, 3 for 3 so far in this qualifying round at getting to the top of the first 3 boulders she has faced. 2 remaining for her, but she will have a few more minutes to go before she gets to attack problem number 4. That is Nakaya Sanders. She is on the 5th and final problem.
She has just over a minute left, so she's taken a few more moments to really set up for what could be her last try at this boulder, and definitely needs it if she's going to make her way into the top 20 for tomorrow.
Arabella Jerial on problem number 3, just coming off the wall there as Sanders starts her ascent back up problem number 5. 2 tops so far, but it's problem 2 that's really throwing a wrench into her plans of getting into the semifinal round. So she really needs a top here to have any chance of doing that.
Got the 10 pretty nicely, just needs to commit to the fallen move here on the 15. Does it well. Kind of an awkward movement here, you just kind of have to commit again. Now for one of the smaller climbers, this last move is going to be a little punchy. Gets one hand, unfortunately.
Left hand was there, but didn't have the grip, and Sanders is off. She takes one last look at the clock and realizes that she is not going to have time for another attempt. So she will close out her qualifying round and hope that she has done enough to get herself into the semifinals.
Time. Climbers, you may begin climbing now.
Bimini Horseman will attack problem number 4 now. Gotten to the top of the 3 boulders that she has faced so far.
Really taking the time to brush here again. The hold that you have to jump to has gotten extremely chalky during this round.
Perfect on problem 1, getting to the top on her very first attempt, and then just 2 attempts each for problem 2 and problem 3 to top those. Stepping through what she thinks will be the necessary movements that she will need to make in order to get to the top here of women's problem 4.
Just taking one more look Definitely spending less time on this boulder problem since it is fewer moves than any of the others. Gonna have to set up for this double clutch jump here.
The horseman's grip slips and not able to hang on.
Comes up a bit short.
Looked like she had enough height, possibly. And you can see the marks left by her fingers.
Yeah, she just needs a little more upward momentum to kind of boost her into the other hold that she has to grab. She just needs a little more power in that jump.
Second attempt for Horseman, better, but still not able to hang on.
Plenty of time here.
Good, strong finish for Isabel.
And looking at this boulder problem, you can tell that the end is not really that difficult, so you can take the time to rest to get ready for that jump.
This certainly has been the sticking point for the majority of the climbers that we've watched, and now Horseman has a solid hold and will look to pull herself up and over and get to that 10-point zone.
Not taking any chances, taking the time to rest here.
She will make it to 10. 15 should not be a problem. And then it's one final move to 25 as Horseman looking to stay perfect.
Just a committing move here. Looks a little nervous about it. Haven't really seen anyone put their foot there.
Horseman will have it, gets to the top for the 4th straight time, and just one problem remaining as Bimini Horseman looks to become the second woman that we have seen top all 5 problems in this qualifying round.
Maggie Hammer setting up for this committing move to the 15.
Maggie Hammer on her 5th and final obstacle and just can't get the grip as she looked to move to that 15-point zone. And again, that's where we've seen most athletes have the problem on this boulder.
Yeah, it's a very committing move, and a lot of the women are just kind of struggling to really commit to it. And then sometimes once they get there, coming out of that press is just a little tricky, and it just doesn't feel right. So then you get nervous and second guess yourself.
Maggie Hammer working her way back up to that point where she just fell off. 30 seconds to go for her.
Come on, Maggie Hammer. Strong finish now.
Hoping she can get into the press here. Much better, just needs to fall into it. Has enough time, but she's gonna need to move quick here. It's gonna be a bigger move for her to get to the 25. Oh.
Couldn't make it, reached out with her left hand, and Maggie Hammer is off the wall. But gave it a great effort on her 5th and final problem. Bimini Horseman coming up next, trying to go 5 for 5 and stay perfect, unlike I just did. We'll have her attempt on problem number 5 when we return. The 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship continues. Sarah Kate Ashton on her 5th and final problem.
Just trying to set up to go to the 10 here. And that very uncomfortable committing move to stand up into it.
Sarah Kate had 2 tops so far on 1 and problem 4. And she's sort of on the cut line right now. She can really do herself a favor. She can get to the top of this problem.
Yeah, she's definitely on the bubble. Hesitating a little too much there. Plenty of time to get back up there, but she definitely needs to be a little more committing to that move.
Arabella Jerial, moments ago, topping problem number 4.
Sets up for the committing jump here, no problem. Really goes for it with 2 hands. That'll be her 2nd top, possibly 3rd top, actually.
And as a result, she's getting a lot of extra rest for her 5th and final problem. And now back to Sarah Kate Ashton. A look at what she has done so far. Started out perfectly on problem number 1 and then ran into a little bit of trouble there in the middle. And then problem 4 was able to get to the top in her 3rd attempt.
Definitely needs to get back on the wall before it gets to 30 seconds, just because you do have to move somewhat slow on this problem. She needs to have enough time to try to increase her score.
Right now, she's sitting, and it's just, the scores have just updated, but she is really right on the cut line and could knock herself out if she doesn't at least get to the 15-point zone here.
10 seconds.
Doesn't
Hitting
look
that a
like it's
little
going to
low.
happen. Sarah Kate Ashton closing out her qualifying round and hoping that she will get some help to get her into the top 20 and on to the semifinal round. And now Bimini Horseman, who has topped all 4 problems she has faced so far, looking to become the second woman that we have seen top all 5. Ashima Shirishi was the other.
Honestly, she probably only really needs to get to the 10 to feel pretty safe. So it'd be cool to see her top all 5. And she's looking in a pretty comfortable position to make it into tomorrow.
Using the brush to make sure that the boulder is to her liking. And now she will get set to start her first ascent up her 5th and final problem.
Always taking that at least minute before she gets on the wall, making sure she knows exactly what she wants to do.
More than a minute has elapsed and Horseman has yet to start to climb. But like you said, she doesn't have to get to the top here. She's done enough work to put herself solidly inside the top 20.
Yeah, without this climb, she's just outside the top 10 right now, so she's set up really nicely.
Playing with house money as she works her way to the 5-point zone.
This boulder problem is definitely in her wheelhouse, though, so I would expect her to do it.
Good. Come on.
Nicely getting up to get set up to attempt to get to that 10 zone with that stand-up move.
Horseman is smooth so far, approaching what has been the crux of this problem, the transition from the 10 to the 15.
Oh, comes up
Can't
a little short of the 10.
keep the hold there on the 10 zone, but minute 45 to go.
Definitely another one of those learned movements where the more you try it, the more your body understands how it works. So she should have more success on it on her second attempt.
Catherine Lamb coming up on that finish on this one. And there we have it.
Second attempt now for Horseman. Trying to go 5 for 5 here in this qualifying round.
Gets that 5. Looking a little tired here. Trying to get into the mantle, slips, but catches herself.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Really gonna try to make the best of this attempt because it is looking like she's getting a little fatigued after this stellar round that she's had.
And we'll see what she learned from that first attempt if she can make it to that 10-point zone. 45 seconds to go.
A little short again.
Can't keep the hold, but again, thanks to her efforts on the first 4 boulders, she's looking pretty good as far as her chances of making into the semifinals are concerned. One more look at that last attempt.
She's kind of trying to hold the hold with her right hand instead of just kind of standing up more into it with her thumb. She's kind of turning her hand, and I think that's what's pushing her out. So let's see if she tries something a little different here.
Now it's about points for Horseman, as Ashima Shirishi will remain the only woman to top all 5 of these opening qualifying problems, and Horseman off the wall again, but solid opening round for her. We will be back to close out our coverage from the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championship when we return. Back at the Deschutes County Fair and Expo Center, where Bimini horsemen successfully got to the top of 4 of the 5 problems here in this qualifying round. But it was that woman, Ashima Shirishi, who stole the show, a perfect 5 for 5, as she punches her ticket to the semifinal round that will be contested tomorrow. Qualifying still going on for the women, but right now, your top 10, Ashima Shirishi on top of the overall leaderboard with 124.3 points, and man, was she impressive.
Yeah, a really impressive round from her. As from a lot of the women, looks like 4 boulders is what you needed to get into the top 10, and Ashima being the only woman who could clinch 5, so really exciting today.
One day down, 1 day to go here at the 2019 USA Climbing Bouldering Open National Championships. For complete results, you can go to usaclimbing.org. For Megan Martin, I'm Sean Woodland. Thanks for joining us here in Oregon. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.